Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tom Aldrich, Chief Operating Officer of Northfield Park. We set back first race post time more than we set back the start of this event, so we're pretty well on time. It's my pleasure to introduce, fresh from a Hawaii vacation, Dave Bianconi, our MC for tonight.
Thank you, Tom, for that, kind introduction, and welcome everyone to our Wall of Fame. I guess it's the 2010 class, but of course Wall of Fame 2011 here at Northfield Park. First off, I'd like to say thanks again to Frankie Starr, the great blues guitarist you heard playing through the dinner hour. He and his band will be back later after the awards presentation. I understand we'll have a special guest harmonica player, Ty Loy, is going to accompany them later in the night, so that'll be a treat for the years. A few other special guests I'd like to introduce. I mean, the place is filled with VIPs of the sport, but a few special guests. I'm sorry if you are special and I miss you, my apologies. But if you would just wave your hand when your name is called, so we can recognize you. First off, high-powered table right in front of us. First off, we've got Willie Kester from the Ohio State Racing Commission. Willie, right in front. Hold your applause to the end, if you would. We've also got Ted Brown from the Ohio State Racing Commission. We've got Dr. Bob Schwartz from the Ohio Standardbred Development Fund, all these folks making their way up from Columbus for this event. Also, the Queen, I guess her official title is General Manager, but the Queen of Scioto Downs, Stacy Cahill, is in the house tonight. And of course, sitting next to her, the King of Northfield Park, our CFO and owner, Brock Milstein, and he's my boss, so I'm going to keep it at that right now. But also some special guests from the Northfield Village Council. We're glad to have local representatives from the Village of Northfield here. Councilwoman Linda Bowen. I'm not sure where these people are. There you are. And also B. Greenlee from the Northfield Village Council is here. And also a well-known figure to many of our horsemen, Chief of Police Mark Wentz. I understand the Chief has a full triumvirate of cars ready to pick you guys up as you go to the Sagamore after tonight's festivities, so drive carefully. Just looking ahead on tonight's program, such great horsemen here that we are recognizing, and great horses as well. Coming up on my 20th anniversary here at Northfield Park, and obviously a lot has changed. When I first got here, the question I was asked most often was, who do you like? And now the question I get most often is, when are we getting slots? So either people have figured out that I'm not that good of a handicapper, or everyone's focus has changed to some degree. I just took over as Director of Racing, as many of you know, about a year ago, and I wanted to really get a good view and get to know my horse population, so I went to visit them in person at the Meadows, where most of them race now. And unfortunately, the place was fantastic. I know many of you have been to the Meadows, made me very jealous of what could be here, and I hope will be here shortly. But our horsemen have done so well to continue on as one of the few locations, Ohio, that does not have added gaming yet. And as the Director of Racing, even though I need the horses here at Northfield, it does make me sort of proud when you guys ship out and win against the big boys at the Meadows, Buffalo, Indiana, and all over the country. It just shows what kind of horsemen and talent we have here, that you guys can compete against the big money. It's almost like the Indians winning the World Series, when our horsemen, with a lot of times limited funds to buy horses, can go out and compete against the nation's best. And certainly Ohio and Northfield are blessed with some of the best in the business. Many of those we are going to honor here tonight. One other thing, of course, the Northfield Park Fine Account, the Horsemen's Fine Account, pays for this event. So I'd like to personally thank everyone that was just redone the list, late to the paddock, made a late driver change, foot out of the stirrup. We've lost a lot of that since Case was here. We had a lot more fine money back when Case was here, but we're missing that now. If you blocked the passing lane, wore the wrong saddle pad, you're certainly responsible for part of tonight's festivities as well. I'd like to especially thank those of you who inappropriately talked to the judges. I know I'd like to talk to them myself during some of those 15-minute inquiries that mess up my simulcasting schedule. But again, thanks to all of you that got fined over the past 3 years to put on this great event. One other person I want to point out is Jim Brown, our best teller, is straight back in the windows back there. You know, hey, our purse pool doesn't get built by, you know, fun alone. So please, if you do see something you like, feel free to get up and make a wager back there with Jim Brown, the best teller in the business, with pretty good running back in his day as well. But getting on to the main part of the program here, a couple of awards coming up before our introduction of the Wall of Fame class. And first up is the John Lee Good Fellowship Award. And before Amy Holler comes up and introduces you to those of you that don't know, Cookie Hillen, who is winning this John Lee Fellowship Award, of course, named for John Lee, a good guy, and that's why this award is named after him, who passed away well before his time. He was a very talented trainer here about a decade ago. And when I took over as director of racing about a year ago, I quickly learned that the two women in the backstretch I cannot live without are Pam Kenny, who was our clerk, of course, and my assistant, actually my associate. She's not really my assistant in the race office. She's certainly my peer. And Cookie, who was in charge of the backstretch when it comes to the stalls, groom's dorm, etc. So Cookie keeps me posted of, you know, who's supposed to be in what stall, and we really did have a full house all winter long. They were fighting for stall space here, believe it or not. She keeps me posted of who's supposed to be in what dorm room, you know, who's sleeping where. Sometimes a little too much information. Thank God we don't have video cameras back there. But, and I recently realized her worth when I talked to my friend at Balmoral Park the other day, and he said to me, "Do you have much trouble in your groom's dorm?" I said, "You know, occasional fight, occasionally somebody has, you know, a couple too many drinks, but really we don't have much of a problem." I said, "Why?" He said, "Boy, in my groom's dorm, we really have a big problem I have to clean up." I said, "What's that?" He said, "We have a number of illegal immigrants living there, you know, unlicensed illegal immigrants." And then he said, "And we also have about 10 children under the age of 12 living in the groom's dorm, including several babies." And I thought to myself, God, thank God for Cookie. At least we don't have any problems like that. Certainly not on her watch. And at this point in time, to give Cookie the award, I'd like to call up Amy Holler, of course, our local Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association representative. Amy?
Thank you, Dave. 20 years, huh? I didn't realize you were so much older than me. Wow. I'm sorry I'm a little out of breath. What, really? Yeah. I'm a little out of breath. I've been dealing with these studs up there for the past 3 hours, and it's just taking a toll on me here. So, and speaking of the studs, I'd like to take this moment to thank everyone that has donated. It's just overwhelming every time that we go to raise money for our benefit auction, the support that we get. And of course, with the situation of Ohio racing, it was even more touching that we got support from states all over the country. And I really appreciate it. We're doing well. Again, it's just a very good cause that you've all supported and are helping to support. We've all heard the term thankless job. We know those who perform them. Yet, like pathetic Cleveland Cavalier fan day or disgruntled Ohio Horseman Day, there's yet to be a national holiday for thankless job performer. Well, tonight I'd like to change this by recognizing someone who should once a year be honored on Thankless Job Day. Small gifts of appreciation may be left at the guard gate. Charlotte Cookie Hillen is this year's winner of the John Lee Good Fellowship Award. An appropriate title, considering if there's not good fellowship on the backstretch, Cookie's going to help you find it and find it quick. And a thankless job it most definitely is. When dealing with the diverse population of a racetrack, she can bring order to chaos. From horsemen to maintenance staff, suppliers, other security guards, Tom Aldridge, she's often able to calm the madness and restore peace to the masses. Sometimes not to the liking of an individual or two, but always for the betterment of all. Cookie's a 21-year veteran of Northfield Park, and I've had the privilege of working with her here the past 11. I, too, am often guilty of not bestowing proper gratitude on her because I know how diligently she works to keep problems from escalating. Her various responsibilities include making sure ship-in stalls are clean and available, horses are properly cared for, in a barn area which is safe and well-maintained. You often see her in the dorm area checking on the safety and cleanliness. If you have children, you know the obstacles you face when it comes to those children keeping their rooms clean. Well, Cookie has about 100 children with messy rooms, and several of them like Bud Light. It takes not only strength and determination to deal with these beer-loving children, but it also takes an unimaginably big heart. If someone's in need, Cookie's normally one of the first to know it, and she's always one of the first to offer assistance. 2 years ago, Cookie lost a dear friend, as we all did, in horseman and security guard Dwight D. Pitts. With little family and no money available for an elaborate funeral, Cookie offered to cover the cremation expense herself. A very generous offer that she need not shoulder alone. Her sincere concern over the lack of proper respect possibly being paid to her cherished colleague led to not only his remains being suitably cared for, but she helped orchestrate a touching tribute which was held in the track kitchen, one in which I'm sure even Dee's tough exterior would have melted over. Cookie's been quoted as saying, "I was brought up to follow the rules. We have rules on a backstretch, and if you follow them, everything's fine. If you don't, we do our best to make sure a small problem doesn't become a big one. That's just common sense." And tonight, it's also common sense that Cookie Hillen is awarded the John Lee Good Fellowship Award. Cookie? But she's not quick. But she's good.
Thanks, Eve.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I'll get out of your way.
I would just like to say thank you to everyone. We've had a rough year and back. If you guys hadn't pulled together, we wouldn't have made it through this year. We were overly crowded, and everybody really, really pitched in. You made my job so much easier. I have so many people to thank that you can't thank them all, because I was told keep it short and sweet. So I just would like to thank everyone. Mr. Jack Streza, who took over for Mr. Moody, has been a godsend. He's learned really well what we need him to do in the backstretch, and I appreciate that. And everybody's just pitched in this year, and I just would like to say this award really belongs to a lot of people. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic job and well-deserved award there for Cookie. Next up on tonight's agenda is the Distinguished Owner Award, and this is quite a list over the years of some of the great owners in the history of Northfield Park, and this guy certainly belongs. Bill Sanders, of course, has raced here for years, even though ever since I've known the guy, he's either lived in Alabama or Tennessee, not exactly harness racing hotbeds. He has always supported Northfield Park, as well as racing top stakes horses across the country. Of course, a couple of courageous ladies he has won in recent years and has had a lot of success with Ty Loy, who's going to come up later in the program as he shockingly made the Wall of Fame. Just kidding, Ty. I got to give it to Ty tonight. But anyways, if I can have our publicity liaison, Keith Gisser, is in the house tonight. If he could come up and say a few words about Bill Sanders, our distinguished owner here for 2010-2011.
Thank you, Dave. It is truly good to be here. I didn't even know I was the Northfield Park Publicity Liaison, to tell you the truth. And listening to Dave and Amy, you guys are a tough crowd tonight. Amy, her 3 hours with the studs, and you guys didn't even chuckle. I mean, now granted, that's like a night off for her. I understand that, just 3 hours. But still, we have to keep that in mind. But we are here to honor tonight, among all the other honorees, our distinguished owner, Bill Sanders. And if any of you guys spent any time at all over the last few weeks watching the NCAA March Madness, the basketball tournament, I know BIANCONI spent no time at all doing that this year. You probably heard the public service announcement. There are over 400,000 athletes in the NCAA, and most of us will be going pro in something other than sports. You guys familiar with that phrase? Well, this year's distinguished owner, Bill Sanders, found a way to do both. He went pro in sports and in business. Although the former NCAA football player never played in the NFL, he did go pro in harness racing, buying and raising some of the best horses in the history of the sport. And the reason he did, by his own admission, is so he could be involved, so he could be a pro as a harness owner. Bill Sanders is a competitor. He competed as a football player in college. He competed in business as a successful real estate developer and as a horse owner. But as I spoke with him doing the profile for the program, he seemed even more proud of something that I can really relate to, which is something that he competed in on the sidelines as a coach in the Pop Warner League, coach of a 3-time National Pop Warner Championship football team in Atlanta. So Bill is clearly a multifaceted guy. And as a high school coach myself, I certainly get that, and I respect it greatly. Not just the idea of succeeding for yourself, but of urging others on to success. And Bill has brought that competitive spirit to his racing stable, campaigning the likes of Ohio Sire Stakes champs San Bouncer and San Squaw, who won the championship twice. And more recently here at Northfield, winner of back-to-back Courageous Ladies with Sandy 55 and San Windsor. There's been dozens more as well, and I know it's kind of a joke on the backstretch. If you see Ty Lloyd jogging one, you just have to ask him, hey, what is that, sand something or another? And you know that it's probably a sand horse, and it's one of Bill's. And while in recent weeks, a fellow by the name of Charlie Sheen has attempted to redefine the phrase winning, the truth mark of a winner, of a pro, is long-term success. Bill Sanders is a pro, and he's a winner, and he's a worthy addition to the ranks of Northfield Park's distinguished owners. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Sanders.
Well, it's certainly a pleasure to be here. A little surprised, but thank you so much, and I'm very honored. It's been a while since I first met Jerry Knappenberger with one of my first horses, and bringing one up for Ty in 1988. It's been a nice ride. It's been good. It's also been tough, but it's been fun. It's been a labor of love, and I've enjoyed every bit of it. Well, almost, particularly the wins. But what I really enjoyed is being with the people here in Ohio. They've treated me as a foreigner like I'm a local guy. Always encouraging, always easy to get along with, and supportive. And I appreciate it very much. And working here and having horses here in Northfield has really been an observation of a class act. And I want to thank you very much, Tom, and all the people here that you have been great pleasure to work with, even in the tough times when we weren't winning much, which is most of the time as being an owner. You owners can appreciate that and certainly relate to that. But again, thank you so much, and I feel very honored indeed. Thank you.
All right, next up, outstanding caretaker, and I have the honor of introducing this young lady. Our winner this year is Lori Hamlet. Of course, many of you know her as both the brains and the beauty behind the Hamlet stable, to say the least. She and her husband Eric have sent out numerous stakes winners in the Buckeye State, especially in the last decade. 5 Ohio Sire Stakes champions, But Lori loves them all like her children, even their overnight horses. She takes exceptional care of. And I know she has a long, long speech that she'd like to give in acceptance of this award. Certainly, well-deserving winner of our outstanding caretaker here this year is Lori Hamlet. She loves public speaking, so please urge her on.
Thank you. That's all I can really say.
And we're going to move along to our top trainer and driver of 2010. Of course, the Fritz NEWHART Award named for the leading dash-winning trainer. Fritz, one of the great trainers from the old days of Northfield Park. And, of course, John Caton Award named for the great John Caton, one of the leading drivers of the early days of Northfield Park. And here to make those awards, the voice of Northfield Park, and also a huge help to me in the race office as my assistant race secretary. He's also the announcer at Thistledown, but we're not going to talk about that right now. AYERS RATLIFF.
Our Fritz NEWHART Award for leading trainer in 2010 goes to Dennis DJ MILLNER. DJ usually keeps a stable of about 30 to 40 horses and has 26 stalls here on our back stretch. I can tell you from working in the race office that DJ knows each one of his horses, he knows where that they fit, and he's one of the most cooperative trainers that we have here. There are calls, not a call, but calls daily to DJ, and in every one of those calls, we're asking and he's giving. When he calls to give entries, it's always an extremely smooth operation, and he could actually give seminars on the backstretch of the proper way to give an entry. Throughout the 2010 season and into 2011, the MILLNER stable has been extremely important to the racing program here at Northfield Park. For example, this coming Saturday in our 13-race program, DJ is starting 14 horses. Last year, he scored 100 wins here over the Flying Turns and scored nearly twice his nearest competitor. But when you look at the 2010 season here, it's not nearly as impressive as the big picture when you're looking at DJ MILLNER last year. First, DJ's only 26 years old. He just got his trainer's license in 2008, and last year he started 1,658 horses, which is an average of 4.5 starts per day for each one of the 365 days. He led the training ranks here at Northfield Park. He was the second trainer at Buffalo, and he was in the top 5 on the training stats at Batavia. But most impressive to me is the fact that he can bench press 405 pounds. So again, congratulations, DJ, on all your success through 2010. And just so you know, in the future when I ask you for horses, and if you ever say no, I take all this back.
I'd like to start off by thanking Northfield Park staff and management to give me the opportunity to race here. And to my owners, Dave Slyman, Dave Phoenix, Todd Rosenberg, Legacy Standardbreds, Prestige Racing. Without all those owners, this would never have been possible. The race office has been great with me this year. We've had a real good relationship. BIANCONI, AYERS, Pam, all them guys. Also would like to thank all my help, my girlfriend Jess and my sister Melinda. They're sitting over there. If they let them stand up. Give them a round of applause. They've been a big success. And I'm just happy to have the opportunity to race here, and I appreciate everything. Thank you.
Our next award is the John Caton Award, and it goes to Dan Charlino, and I don't believe he's here. So Dan, if you are here, come up extremely quickly. But I will say what I was going to say anyway. But again, this year, our 2010 leading driver was Dan Charlino. In 2010, Dan scored 458 victories here at Northfield Park. And this was the first driving title of his driving career. And I tell you, both as a harness racing fan and as an announcer, that Dan Charlino has really added a lot to the driving colony here at Northfield. I know that he spent time with our patrons on Back to the Track promotion. I know that he came in early and devoted his own time and came in to sit down with me for an interview that we aired here at Northfield. And when I thanked him for coming in to doing the interview, he said, not a problem. It's anything that I can do to help promote the sport, and let me know what else that I can do. And that's the kind of attitude that all of us really need to have. And when I talked to him and really had a chance to meet him in depth when I did the interview in January, I found that his personality of being polite and humble really fit his driving style. And as a spectator, it seems to me that he's almost a perfect driver in that he promotes our sport. And for the fan, he gives an utmost effort. He's extremely talented. He gives you a solid performance. He puts you in the race, and he gives you something to root for. And for a horseman, it looks to me that he gives success without overly using your horses and emptying your horses, and gives a maximum result, but leaves something in the tank for next week. Impressively to me, he keeps up a torrid pace by driving both here and at the Meadows, and selfishly, I hope that he continues that pace, because I know I do, and all of you can also want to see his blue and purple colors right here at Northfield Park. So again, congratulations to Dan Charlino. It's richly deserved, and I wish him much success in the future.
Of course, I forgot to mention AYERS is also a multiple-term incumbent on the Marion City Council. A little-known fact, you can see with that line of BS, he has a long career in politics ahead of him. Maybe if he ever wins as governor, we'll finally get slots. So Godspeed AYERS all the way to the top. That's right. And thank God he was up here in between DJ MILLNER and me. My God, I got to start working out. For God's. Can ALDRICH come stand next to me again? I'm not standing by MILLNER anymore. Next up, Horse of the Year, and couldn't be happier for the horse and the guy that won it. It's like a Northfield story. A small stable, a guy buys a fairly cheap horse, and it turns out to be the best horse on the grounds. Really, the past couple of years, this horse is there every week in the box and racing at the highest level of competition. Of course, I'm speaking about delivered rules, a lot of times assigned outside, and still highly successful. And I'd like to call up now Brent REITZ, our new Vice President of Operations and Communications that we stole over from the dark side at Thistledown. And if Brent could hand out the award to Delivered Rules, our Horse of the Year from 2010.
Thanks, Dave. Charles O'Neill generally runs a small stable of horses, even though he's been here at Northfield for 30 years. So when he plunked down $3,900 over 3 years ago for a lightly raced pacer named Delivered Rules, he had no idea what he was getting himself into. 3 months later, Delivered Rules had made Charles back his $3,900, and 2.5 years after that, Delivered Rules has banked over $80,000 for the owner-trainer from Oakwood Village. In fact, over $42,000 of that total was won right here at Northfield in 2010. Delivered Rules went to post 42 times, winning 8 of them, and finishing the money 19 other times. There's a quote that fits this honor tonight. A true horseman does not look at a horse with his eyes, he looks at this horse with his heart. Unfortunately, we'll never know who said this. The author is unknown, but for all we know, Charles O'Neill could have been that person that uttered those words in February of 2008. Please join me in congratulating the 2010 Northfield Park Horse of the Year, Delivered Rules, and his owner-trainer, Charles O'Neill. Apparently, Charles has had a sex change operation. This is his lovely wife. Go ahead. You want to say a few words? No. Just go ahead and say if you want to say a few words.
Charles has asked me to accept the award for Delivered Rules, and we are overly excited and very fortunate for this recognition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joyce O'Neill, accepting for Charlie, who is sitting right down there. If you want to give a wave, Charlie, great job with Delivered Rules over the years, absolutely. Next up, our newest award. It's the Willie Banks Jr. Ideal Employee Award. And for those of you that didn't know Willie, ideal employee doesn't even start to sum up what he was to us here at Northfield. Obviously, he passed away well before his time recently, and our Chief Operating Officer, Tom Aldrich, is going to say a few words about Willie and this award. Tom? Tom, often confused with DJ Milner, but it's really Tom Aldrich.
Before I share a few personal recollections about Willie Banks, I hope that tonight, maybe when you get home, you'll take a look at the welcome and acknowledgments page. I have known for 26 years that I have been blessed with the best staff in harness racing. The support that we get from other industry groups like the Ohio State Racing Commission and the United States Trotting Association and others that are listed here, the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association, is essential. But on the day-to-day grind at Northfield Park, these people and their staff on this acknowledgement page pull off events like this and have the stamina to go through 213 race nights and 364 simulcast days, and they do it with incredible energy and devotion to this place, and I thank them all for it. Some of you knew Willie Banks. If you didn't, but just watched him in action on a race night, you'll understand what I mean here. We have a walkie-talkie network at Northfield. Department supervisors, maintenance and security officials, and other key personnel carry radios to help us respond to crowd issues, and other problems that arise. Willie's moniker was Official 10. You don't always know every employee that's scheduled, but if the call went out for that number and Willie's familiar voice rang out, Official 10 here, I relaxed and knew that the night was going to go just fine. It always did when Willie was on the watch. Now, with some people with a walkie, there can be problems. You'll hear official 10. There's a code 6 at the program stand, which might mean that there's a small leak there or a dripping air conditioner, somebody spilled a drink, or in the old days when there was smoking, a smoldering trash can. I didn't know all the codes, but Willie did, and he was soon on the scene. As I said, you didn't always know what you were going to hear on this walkie system. And sometimes you sort of hold your breath. You don't know what the fans may hear. You don't know what you're going to hear. There's the bark back, like, I'll get to it when I can, okay? Or the snarl. Do you mind telling me just where it is in the grandstand? It doesn't happen often, but it's a long season. My favorite is, I'll check on it. Willie, from him, you never heard something like that. There was no annoyance, no sarcasm. It was always, be right there, I'm on my way, or simply a confident, thank you. Think of that. Thank you. That was Willie. It's a given in our industry that managers in the suits need to be out on the floor to meet and greet, to schmooze, to congratulate the winners and commiserate with the losers, and to listen to complaints. And boy, are there complaints some nights. It's supposed to be good for the soul, I guess. But on long, trying days, you can dread it. I mean, let's be honest a little bit. Northfield has the greatest fandom in North America, I think, but with a few fans on a few nights, you think you're in hell with Les Miserables. And then you'd see Willie, hustling, solving problems, always on the go, and greeting everyone he encountered with a smile and a good word. It was inspiring and uplifting, and you felt gratified to be in his presence. That was Willie. I'd see him and ask, "How you doing, Willie?" And he'd respond, "Doing just fine, Mr. Aldrich," with that grin that could melt you. And we'd shake hands. And somehow, that was all you needed to remind you that life is precious and God put some very special people on earth. That was Willie's gift to us. That is his legacy, and that is why we honor his memory with the establishment of the Willie C. Banks Ideal Employee Award. I'm going to ask Bill SEESE to come up and make a few remarks about the first recipient of the Ideal Employee Award named in honor of Willie Banks, and then we'll ask Willie's family and friends, a group of 6, to come up and present the plaque to the first recipient. And as they come up, I'll come back to the mic and give their names.
Thank you, Tom. A little hard to follow that up. Anyone who knows me will tell you that public speaking is not something I'm very comfortable with. However, when Tom Aldrich asked me to do this presentation, I felt it was a personal honor to celebrate 2 men that I truly like and respect. Willie was a private person who did his job with little fanfare. My memories of him are a man who never had to ask what he should do, he just did it. Every time I crossed paths with him at work, he had a big smile on his face and greeted me as if I was a personal friend. I have missed talking with him, and I hope having this award named for him will make people remember him as I do and bring a smile to their face. Tom Barry, what can I say? He is my mentor, my friend, and my trusted coworker. When we decided to announce this award for an ideal employee, it was as if we had him in mind. He truly is the ideal employee, a person whose only goal is to improve Northfield Park, not only for the patrons, but for every employee who has the pleasure of working beside him. Tom, I am truly honored to present you with this award and to consider you my friend. Mr. Barry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tom will let you say a few remarks, but I'm going to call the family. I now ask family and friends of Willie Banks Jr. to come forward to help Bill present this award to Tom Barry. So we have Willie Banks III, Willie's son, Willie III's mother, Shinetta McDonald, friend Teresa Washington, and friend Dr. Geraldine Glover, and Tamara Matthews, Willie III's girlfriend, and Willie III's son, Elias Banks.
Mr. Barry, if that's okay.
I'd like to thank track management, the horsemen, the horses, and Willie Banks.
And on another personal note, Mr. Barry, I sure do miss that buffer for the.
All right, we are on to the induction into the Wall of Fame of three very deserving men and a great horse from the past. First off, Marty WOLLAM, a guy I've had a pleasure of working with quite a bit, both as a PR representative and now as the director of racing. Truly a great horseman in Ohio and beyond. And here to say a few words, a guy I forgot to introduce at the beginning of the night as a VIP. It's Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association General Manager Jerry Knappenberger, who's going to say a few words about one of the newest members of our Wall of Fame, Marty WOLLAM. Jerry?
Thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. My pleasure to be here and be one of the three trustees for the Northfield Park Wall of Fame. Dave and I kind of torment each other. Our most recent phone call, he tormented me a little bit about my alma mater and the things that's going on at Ohio State. So I don't want to get into too much of that. I just told him it's the University of Michigan's fault. They can't win, and we got a surplus of gold pants. And if you noticed on the Groom's Award of the Year, Dave being a University of Cincinnati graduate, they don't know how, they are not used to being around an award. And he did not know where the award was. So, but we've asked Amy Holler maybe the next year to raise, have an auction that we can raise some money for Dave's alma mater to get some of their athletes out of jail. Anyway, Dave does a great job. We're blessed to have had him host our banquets, and nobody does a better job in Ohio than Dave. He's, another thing before we get started with this, as Bill Saunders alluded to, we had the pleasure of training Bill's first horse, the Falcon Elmerhurst colt, many years ago. And Bill is one of the outstanding horsemen in the country. As an owner, he has the wherewithal to race in any state in this country, and he has participated in Ohio, and he didn't need to do that. And he's had so many great horses, including the great trotter San Vic, and it's just great to have somebody, the successful businessman and the person he is, to participate in Ohio racing. And on behalf of the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association, I want to thank him for all the years that he's participated, and nobody is invested in Ohio racing any more than Bill. And he's had some great horses, and this honor is so well deserved, and he came a long way to get it tonight. So he left a warm, sunny South, and he's one of the great people we have in horse racing. And the person that I get to present tonight is one of the hardest working trainers that I have had the pleasure of knowing or have observed in my 50 years involved in horse racing. Marty WOLLAM. Marty began working when he was 16 years old as a groom for Forrest Short, and opened his own stable in the 70s. And no trainer in the country works any harder than Marty. And he's had a great deal of success. And Marty and his family epitomize what Ohio horse racing is all about. A family-owned agricultural business and that is what horse racing provides, the great agricultural impact to our state, and Marty's family is involved through his, that operation, and it's been Marty is one of the class acts we've had over the years. It's my pleasure to have known him for over 40 years. And you look at his records, and of course, before the USTA, or since the USTA, has been keeping records on trainers and drivers in their computer. As a driver, Marty's had over 1,000 wins and close to 4.5 million in winnings since 1977, and there was quite a bit before then that will not come up on the USTA computer system. And as a trainer, since 1991, when those statistics were first capped for a trainer, he's had 1,550 wins and over $10 million. Some of the great horses that Marty has had over the years, he has been the trainer of 7 Ohio Sire Stakes champions, of which 3 of them he drove. The first being in 1986, the great 3-year-old pacing filly, Come On Ashley, who was also a Triple Crown winner. 1987 3-year-old filly pace champion, Always Truthful, here at Northfield Park. Both of those fillies were Triple Crown winners also, Ohio Triple Crown winners. 1992 4- and 5-year-old trot, Pegasus Spur as a trainer. 1998 3-year-old filly pacer, Doink and Donnie as a trainer. 1999 3-year-old filly pace, Savannah's Magic, here at Northfield Park as a trainer. In 1903 2-year-old trotting colt, Full Count, also a Triple Crown winner, and the 2003 Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association 2-year-old Trotter of the Year. And in 2006, another 2-year-old colt, also the 2-year-old Trotter of the Year, in I'm a Spur. And as I said, 3 of those wins, Always Truthful, Savannah's Magic, and Full Count, were all here at Northfield Park. So Marty is, as I said, and I will repeat, he is the epitome of the hardest working trainer, somebody who's unquestioned integrity, and proud to have been his friend for these many years. And I can't think of anybody more fitting to be added to the Northfield Park Wall of Fame. So, Marty, if you would come up, it would be my pleasure. That'd be great. Is the picture part of it? Yeah, good.
Well, I'd like to thank the trustees of the Wall of Fame and all the members who voted me this honor. And believe me, it's an honor. I'm very proud that my picture will be added to all those ones up there on the wall. I used to think that I wasn't an old timer until, I know all these guys. I raced with a lot of these horses, and they're all old timers. So I guess I belong in there too. But it's quite an honor. I'm very proud that Northfield Park thinks that I've donated something to help harness racing in Northeast Ohio and in Ohio in general. And obviously, like Jerry said, I'm very lucky that my family supported me. My wife, from 38 years now, I think we've been married, and she's never questioned anything I did. This is, for all of us that are in the business, it's not the easiest thing in the world to keep families. My wife never once complained about a thing I did. And I'm lucky now I have my son and my daughter, my son-in-law supporting me, and it's making it really fun for me now that I'm getting older and I'm an old timer. I can enjoy it. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Marty Wollam. I don't want to say too much bad stuff about Ohio State because Marty's wearing an Ohio State tie, but Jerry, my alma mater, Cincinnati, we haven't beaten Ohio State on the field very often lately, but I've got Bob Huggins and Kenyon Martin here to kick your ass in the parking lot after this festivity, so you're going to want to hang around for that. Next up, I am going to bring up Tom Aldrich, and unfortunately, this is another tearjerker. This is to present the award for Elmer Moody, a guy that was really my mentor from the time I came in here all the way till his untimely passing, and I'm certain Tom has a lot of words to say about Elmer, a great guy that everybody knew and enjoyed working with here at Northfield. Tom?
Thank you, Dave. After 30 years of managing, it is my considered opinion that the three hardest jobs at a racetrack are director of facilities, director of security, and racing secretary, or at least that was my opinion until BIANCONI breezed in. And if you keep getting 83 entries, you can breeze right out too. But I'm here to talk about the security department and the man who ran it for 23 years. Elmer Moody was not my choice. I didn't know him. In those days, back in 1986, I had been here less than a year, and key personnel decisions were still made by Carl Milstein, who had saved Northfield Park in January of 1985 and breathed new life into it. Carl had a keen eye for talent, and he was not averse to throwing the long ball. Elmer, a Walton Hills police sergeant at the time, had worked the parking lot patrol for the previous 16 years and was front and center during the labor strife and picketing that occurred for much of 1985. Things eventually got worked out and good union relations were restored. But Carl was not a man to forget who had helped him and stood by him. "You'll like him," he assured me, after he'd hired Elmer and cashiered a career FBI agent who'd held the security director's job for a little more than a year. And then the clincher. Elmer's a stand-up guy. Coming from Carl, that was praise of the highest. And I did like Elmer, but at first it was an acquired taste. Although he always respected the chain of command, as his police training had taught him. He could ruffle feathers interdepartmentally. Elmer was strong-willed and domineering, two traits I'm a little familiar with. But those qualities seemed to fit as Northfield flourished, crowds swelled, and security concerns heightened. As time went on, it became obvious to just about everyone that Moody put Northfield's welfare above all else, and that our reputation as a safe racetrack and place to go was in large measure his doing. Being security director will win you no popularity contest, but by the 10 years of his stewardship, Elmer was widely admired and almost universally respected. One patron he'd crossed swords with once said to me privately, "Elmer's a dick, but he's our dick." Had I told Elmer that, he'd probably have hired him. Elmer grew in the role and responsibilities of his job. There's always a concern on the part of racetrack GMs that a security director can be a little too much by the book. That whole badge and uniform thing going on can be a little too empowering for some. Years ago, I had a security director at Rosecroft named, and I'm not kidding here, Duck Grimm. Nice guy, and I hope he's still living, and if there's any Fox News contributors here tonight, don't report any of this. But Duck thought it was his beholden duty to ticket, search, bar, and call the cops on any poor horseman or fan who so much as left his fly open, all while fingering his weapon. Moody wasn't like that. In fact, he developed a sure sixth sense of when to bend a rule or cut a break. He understood the business. For that reason, I very seldom overruled him on a security or personnel decision. Undercut your security director, and pretty soon you have less security. Elmer and I valued that relationship of trust, and it only intensified over the years. No one, least of all his staff, outworked Elmer. He patrolled the grounds day and night. He was my eyes and ears on the floor during racing. He chased bad checks. He represented the track at all manner of court hearings, ran the parking lot, conducted or accompanied regulators on barn checks, and to save overtime, worked the guard gate himself when somebody was ill. He skillfully and dutifully carried out many sensitive, difficult assignments that came his way from the executive office. As Brock Milstein put it 7 years ago when Elmer received the rarely given Excellence in Management Award, Elmer couldn't have agreed with some of the directives Tom and I gave him over the years, but he executed every one of them with absolute loyalty and discretion. Chief Moody once more, I forgot.
Well, I'd take a quick moment. I forgot to mention that if you turn to channel 10, you can see some graphics in the live feed of this broadcast, and also, most importantly, a video we have coming up from a horse that actually predates me. I've been here 20 years now, so it's rare that there's a horse that was before my time, but Dream of Glory was just that. But certainly, I have heard about his exploits. And I want to also, at this moment, I forgot earlier because no one said the MC wasn't supposed to go to the open bar. I forgot to mention we have several Wall of Fame members here tonight. I'd just like to quickly introduce them. We have Jerry Bookmeyer in attendance. Jerry, where are you? There he is, Bookie, right down there. I saw sitting up top before Dominic Staffrey. Dominic, if you'd wave. There's Dom up top. Also on our Wall of Fame and still actively participating here, Don McCurgan. Don, dirty. And of course we have Claire Umholtz, who we're going to hear from a little bit later. Claire. And a guy that certainly was in the middle of the fight with our next honoree, Dream of Glory, a number of times, Pius Senlin. Pius, you're going to be up here shortly. Where are you, Pius? All right. And shortly we're going to have a quick video of Dream of Glory's career. But first off, I'd like to introduce the guy that's going to talk about Dream of Glory, a harness racing expert to say the least. It's Dean Hoffman. Many of you know Dean as the past executive editor of Hoofbeats magazine for 24 years. Dean now the head of Hoffman Communications, LLC. He's a renowned author and bloodlines expert in all of horse racing, not just harness racing. Very sought-after speaker. He has spoken about our sport in the U.S., Europe, and beyond, often contributor to the University of Arizona Racetrack Symposium. So Dean Hoffman's going to come to the stage now, and he's right here. But quickly, let's take a look, if a video is ready, at Dream of Glory in action from years gone by, again on Channel 10.
Draws clear, 2.5 lengths. Savoir is second. They're at the top of the stretch. It's Cash Minbar opening up a 2.5 length lead. Along the inside, Savoir is second. Johnny Jump Up is third. The far outside, Dream of Glory. They drive for the wire. That's Dream of Glory, the strong horse, to win the Challenge Cup going away.
By their very nature, horse owners are dreamers. Horse breeders are dreamers. I know that because on the way up from Columbus tonight, I stopped to see a broodmare that I have that's going to foal in a couple of weeks, and you can believe that I've got big dreams for my foal like any other horse breeder. But let's wind the clock back 40 years exactly to the spring of 1971. And what do you think that Leo Senlin and his son Pius were dreaming about in the spring of 1971? They were dreaming about glory. And they found it in a bay colt splashed with a little white, a colt that had the looks of a male model, the manners of a diplomat, and the speed of a Ferrari. And he used those traits to win 15 out of 19 starts as a 2-year-old, 3 seconds. Keep that in mind, 19 starts, 15 wins, 3 seconds as a 2-year-old. He was just getting started. As a 3-year-old, he won in 157 and 2, beating many of the top 3-year-old trotters, even though he was not eligible to the Hambletonian, not staked to the Hambletonian, he was still named the champion trotter in North America as a 3-year-old, despite the fact that he was not in some of the big races. Once again, the best was yet to come. As a 4-year-old, he graduated into the older ranks. He was the top 4-year-old trotter in North America in 1975. Once again, in 1976, he was the top age trotter in North America. These were not Ohio awards, these were North American awards. 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and 5-year-old, top in his class in North America. It doesn't get much better than that. And as you may have seen on the little video clip there, if you ever saw Dream of Glory in full flight, I mean, it got you right here. He was breathtaking to see. I was talking yesterday to Tom Charters, who's president of the Hambletonian Society, and Tom asked me to express his congratulations to the Senlin family for Dream of Glory's honors, because Tom has great memories, fond memories, he said, of racing against Dream of Glory back in the 70s when Tom was the caretaker for Delmonica Hanover, the great mare that won the International Trot and won the Prix d'Amérique in France. And Tom said he had memories when they came to race at Northfield Park, I think in the fall of 1975, and he was actually stabled out at the Senlin farm. And he was had fond memories of how hospitable and kind and welcoming they were to him, except that things changed when they got on the racetrack because Dream of Glory beat the hell out of Delmonica. And Tom said, you know, 36 years later, I'm still a little bitter about that. But Dream of Glory was sold to the Armstrong brothers in Canada, and went on to race for them and then went to be a stallion. But before he went to Canada as a stallion, he did some limited stud duty here in Ohio. And from his first crop of only 8 foals came such horses as Dorian's Music and Hardesty. Between the two of those horses, they won over $500,000. And when he went to Canada, he sired such outstanding horses as Armbro Luxury, A Ship's Dream, Oakley Count, Armbro Hinner, Armbro Agile, these all from the Armstrong Brothers farm. Robin's Wonder, Armbro Acadian. He sired the winners of over almost $47 million, 136 2-minute trotters. Dream of Glory broodmares were particularly valuable. He sired the dams of 3 trotters who won more than $2 million, and those were Westgate Crown, Good Times, and Glory's Comment. Also the sire of the dam of the millionaire Impeccable Image. If any horse ever deserved induction into the Wall of Fame here at Northfield, it would be Dream of Glory. And please join me in welcoming Pius Senlin and Dream of Glory.
Thank you, Mr. Huffman. Thank you very much for that fine introduction. I'd like to thank Mr. Milstein and Tom Aldridge and all of Northfield Park for this fine party. And we are very happy to be here. Thank you.
We've got to get some more pictures here. What do you have here? Yeah.
And before our final reward, I'd be remiss, I forgot a member of the Wall of Fame. My apologies, who was here. Bob Sidley, of course, a past distinguished owner who had a number of horses with Marty WOLLAM that raced tonight. Bob Sidley, I know you're somewhere in attendance. My apologies. Again, Bob Sidley, a member of the Wall of Fame class of 2007, also in attendance here tonight. Last but not least, though, this evening, yeah, here's a quick round of applause for Bobby. He certainly deserves it. Last but not least this evening, a guy dear to my heart, Ty Loy. I've already made a couple of Ty Loy jokes tonight, and it's because he's just the best guy. He's everyone's friend on the backstretch, sort of an easy target because, you know, he's a good-natured guy, a little bit of a quick temper, so, you know, he likes to joke around. But in all seriousness, totally deserving of this reward, a spectacular horseman. Recent years especially, he's just mowing them down. He seems like he wins a stakes race in Pennsylvania about twice a week during the summer. Quite an eye for a yearling as well. He doesn't have the most money to spend, but he seems to get absolutely the most out of his yearlings, especially recent crops both in Ohio and Pennsylvania. Of course, winning open stakes races with San Windsor the past few years as well. He's raced a lot of horses for Bill Sanders, who's our distinguished owner here tonight, and just a great guy to have around, and still supports Northfield with a number of overnight horses too. So here to present the award tonight is a fellow Hall of Famer, a guy he's raced against for years, Claire Umholtz.
Hello, for you that don't know Ty, when he was born, they broke the mold. He's one of a kind. He's a real good friend. He's just been a great friend for 25 years of mine. But it's only been in the last 12 to 15 years he's really taken the stage all over the country, you know, every state. And I think that's because he got married about 12 to 15 years ago. Could be. His wife's Pam standing right there. And his work ethic, you know, he'll call you up 10:30 at night. What are you doing? I'm sleeping. Oh, I'm coming back from the Poconos. 6:45 next morning, here he's pulling in 40 bales of straw in his truck. But, you know, he's a real good guy. He gets a little funny at times, but when he's racing, he's all serious. And just to prove that, 2 years ago when he won the Courageous Lady with Sandy 55, we got a little videotape just to show you how he behaves. Come on, get up there. Come on. Come on. Yes. 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 Yeah! I think that was the cleaned up version there, Ty. But anyways, very well deserving, good friend, Ty Loy. Yeah, we had to steal them.
I'm honored to have this privilege for this award. And I have a lot of people to thank through the years. I mean, a lot of people that's not even with us anymore, but I tried to learn from everybody and still try to keep on learning. I got to thank my help. I got to thank so many people, it's not even funny. And I got to thank my wife, too, because there's a lot of times I'm not there for her when I'm on the road and stuff like that. Thank you, people.
And before we wrap things up, I'd like to thank everybody that took part in putting this all together. This is quite an undertaking, and I just get to come up here and MC the thing. I really didn't do a whole lot of work in the background, and certainly Aldrich didn't either. He doesn't do a whole lot, period. But what can I say? But I do want to recognize one person who was really at the heart of putting this whole night together, and that's our administrative assistant for not only Tom and me, but basically everyone that works here. She assists greatly, and that is Amy Halls. Amy, if you'd stand up for a minute. She loves a tremendous amount of attention as well. There she is. Many of you don't know Amy, but boy, we can't live without her in the general office, certainly. So, again, congratulations to all of our honorees tonight. Thank you so much for coming, and I think we're going to fire up the music here with Frankie Starr and band. Are going to entertain, and please enjoy yourselves. Thanks again for coming to our Wall of Fame class of 2010-11. Thank you.